We are live. Welcome to the Lynn and Sheryl show. I'm Lynn Serrano, and you are.
I'm Cheryl.
Hi, Dios mío. It's going to be one of those days. We're going to be right back right after this. Welcome back, everyone. Hello, hello. So glad to be here. I just got my voice back an hour ago, and this is as best as it's going to be. Um, I'm going to give you a Puerto Rican secret. One tool thing, something we keep in our toolbox when we're sick. And with the Puerto Rican accent from my dad, I use Bix. And so I look a little shiny today because I have my Vicks on today. So anyhow, and I'm squinting here because the Vicks really helps vaporize your nose or something. I don't know. How are you, Sheryl?
I'm better than you are today.
Oh, you know what? We showed up today.
I'm here.
Yep,
Vertical, no dirt. We're good.
yep, yep. And today's topic I picked, it says, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And sometimes we realize that the way we hear things from people can hit us the wrong way. And yet we need to stop and think, well, how do you sound when you are talking to people? And yeah, I'm from New York, so I kind of got that sassy, little sarcastic attitude at sometimes. But again, what I'm grateful is my friends know me, so I can get away with that. But when somebody doesn't know you, you better have a different tone. You until they get to know you, you just can't come off being because they're going to take you wrong. Sheryl?
Yeah. And, I've taught a lot of people over the last years how to understand exactly what you're saying with their disc assessments. How they see there's a part in there of communication. It's how you people want to be talked to, how you want to be talked to. And I think that's turns out to be one of the most important parts, especially in a family or an office or something where you've got to intermingle with the same people all day long. And if you can learn to judge somebody's disc, then you know how to talk to them. I mean, I'm I'm like a high D. You want to say anything, go for it. It's gonna go right over my head most of the time anyway. Um, Other people that are different, have different areas, they take everything to heart. And it doesn't matter how it comes out. If you say it gruffly, they close down. And
Yeah.
that's the bad thing of how you say things. Say them like other people want to hear them. And if you can't say something nice, just keep your mouth shut. Pretty much. That's the way we were brought up.
I agree. And I've got Rex's neuro linguistic programming NLP course, and I've got to get back into studying. But there is, you learn people's language, whether they're audible, visual, or kinesthetic, and tonality is a big deal too. Um, you could be looking at somebody and saying, "Gosh, you're beautiful," but if you have like this brash tone to it, your words were never heard. I mean, it's a very interesting thing. So I mean, with disc assessment and neurolinguistic programming and all these different things, there are a lot of tools, to learn how to speak to people. But the thing is sometimes people go, I don't know why people take me wrong. Well, if you're finding that a lot in a mix of people, you might be the problem. I mean, stop and think. I mean, it's so you need to do something different if you want a different result.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't. They just they open mouth and whatever's sitting on the brain rolls out, and it
Yeah.
rolls out in a different tone. I mean, Jerry, I'm going to use him for an example. His voice is very strong. And so even when he says good morning, if he's talking to somebody really meek and mild, that kind of throws them off.
Yep. Oh, there's Miss Beautiful Flo. Thank you for being here, Flo. I love her tone. I love who she is. She's awesome. She's got the farm edible. Uh, I'm messing it up right now. I got a cold. That's my excuse. I don't like using excuses, but anyhow, it really is funny though that I think the blessing is when it hits you or you get it from somebody you don't know, you get to check your own self and say, am I taking that personal or was it just their mannerism? I mean, there's a lot of things to take. You find somebody that just got bad news and you turn around, you talk to them, you might get your head bit off, you know? I mean, and people don't take those things in consideration either. Why is that person upset or why did they have that tonality? And I think it's best to be on the side of caution to say something's going on because sometimes it isn't about you, it's about them. But in those situations, you should just be kind. Don't go and say, okay, well, back to you, because it's, you always got to remember, what do you want? What if like back in the day, I was just always very responsive. I was just a very mean, angry person. I mean, I would just wallop at the first thing. So I just saw Jerry said, I can't defend or deny. And without him putting his name there, I knew that was his answer. But seriously, I think if we have grace with each other and say, you know what, this person might sound brash, but maybe they're not until I get to know them. Or, you don't need to add kindling or, you know, uh, gas fuel light, what's it, the charcoal, when you're doing charcoal and you're putting the lighter fluid on it, you don't need to add to the
Called fuel
flames of
to
things.
the flame.
What's that?
You don't add fuel to the flame.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's exactly the deal, is that we don't see that we should take the high road, you know, instead of taking the low road and going with going in the what do you call it? In the rabbit hole. Take, yeah. Anyways, I did take some cold flu medicine before I started this, so I'm gonna start sounding
No,
like
she didn't. She's been on the wine this morning.
the one. Oh, yeah. Well, it says no alcohol, but I don't know. We'll see about that. I got the one that's supposed to be non-alcoholic. Anyways.
Everybody's got to be sick sometime. I mean, the problem is when you talk all day, you really don't need a head cold. But anyway,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's the thing about it is most people at times are just going to literally close up when you say something, and they're not going to rationalize it out. Me, I'll think about it a while, but a lot of people are just going to shut down, and once they're shut down, they don't open back up, like, and you can't get them back in. And it happens a lot in the workforce, especially if you're leading people. You say something wrong and it's like that's the last thing they'll ever hear from you. So
Well, people forget too. Like, if you ask people, how'd you guys meet or how'd you become best friends? Sometimes you'll hear conversations with, well, first impression of that person, I didn't like them. And I love when I hear those stories because, you know, first impression can make or break. But I think when you're an open minded person and you realize that maybe it wasn't a good time to whatever, I love to see that that's someone that didn't take their first judgment and make it their final judgment.
I have a personality, though. If you don't like me on the get-go, I don't improve. That's the problem. Uh, I'm me 24/7. If you don't like me at 9 in the morning, you're not going to like me at 9 in the evening.
Mm.
I think that's one good thing about being transparent. People know exactly where I
Mhm.
stand. And um, basically, I like most everybody. I can deal with about anybody. Most people, and a lot of people can't deal with me, but it's especially years ago. It's not so bad now. A high opinionated female nowadays can get by with it, where back in the 60s, I mean, you said something a little overboard. I mean, you talk about drawing a conclusion, they'll draw the line in the sand.
Well, I've been blessed with some very empowering women growing up and people that were always my elders. I mean, I think for years, I mean, since my grandmother, I mean, people in the 70s. I mean, since I was 7 years old, I mean, I just look up to them, and they can be real brash and sassy, and yet I've always known it's always been for the betterment of me and the love that they have for me, that I just know that that conviction of brash and sassy is something that's, if they didn't give a shit, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't be so stern with me. So it's always, like, you're such a mentor and such a friend, and I love you, and I don't believe you're in your 70s though. So, but
I,
you know,
well, and like my grandmother, she always had one. And one of the things that kept me going a lot of times probably didn't have anything to do with this conversation, but maybe it'll work for somebody out there. I made the mistake of saying this remark in front of a whole group of Ziegler people one day when I was asked what somebody told me that was important in my life. When I told them my grandmother told me, shoulders back, boobs out, and get on with life.
yeah. Matter of fact, I had my godmother. She would, like, I'd put my hand on my hip, and she'd tell me, she'd slap my hand, and I'd like stop. And one day I saw her do it, and I slapped her hand and said, "Stop." I said, I can't do it. You can't do it." She goes, "No, no, no. The reason why I would do that is because when I'd slap your hand from your waist, you'd stand straight up. But when you had it like that, you'd slouch and you'd be whatever." I'm like, "Oh, I get it."
Hey, it's a really miracle that my daughter still has a spine because she's a little over 6 foot tall and she's 50. So back in our early years, girls weren't supposed to be tall. They weren't supposed to be 6 foot tall. And she'd walk around slouched over, and I'd take my hand and pop her right in the back and stand her. So, and she'd do just like you. I didn't hit her that hard, but it was just, she'd shoulders would go back. Now,
Sure.
her husband was about 4 inches shorter than her, my grandchildren's father. And so,
Cheryl, we don't edit the show, right? You just admitted giving your daughter a whoop ass. No, just kidding.
that was not the whoop ass. Whoop ass we can get into in another conversation.
Okay. It
I'm
doesn't matter.
when they did that.
I think the statutory for you is over, so you're good.
Hey, it made her proud to be tall, so it was well worth it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, like you say, it's not what you say and how you say it is same thing. It's sometimes you just need to know that when you do feel like somebody's talking in a tone, I think that's a place to check yourself.
Yeah.
How are you doing today? What are you walking that talk? I think we need our own medicine to realize, wow, how else to have a gauge, and to realize that, do you want somebody talking to you like that? So, well, therefore, why are you doing that to others?
Yeah.
So I just started recently. My ex-boyfriend, he'd always pick on me when I say certain words. They're in Long Island, their real accent, and I get conscientious about it. But I just started picking on him for a couple different words that I always just for 12 years have let him be. But now I stop and I mock it. And he's like, I go, "Yeah, how's that feel?" Again, it's finding, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. But, again, make sure that your tonality and what you're trying to convey is explained in how you want to deliver it. If you want to be a loving, caring person, then talk that way. Don't sound like an ass. Don't sound so closed-minded or judgmental. And there's so many, we all can be judgmental about something, including myself. But the bottom line is, that's checking yourself at the door.
Now, some people check themselves at the door, but it's kind of like a hat rack. Some of them fall off. But, the thing about it is, it's just like, you said it right there, doing to others is you'd have them do unto you. If you like to get your head snapped off, then go ahead and have it at it. You're not going to have any friends because they won't be snapping your heads off. So, hey, it all works out in the end.
Mhm.
And so the main thing is again, back to something you said, if somebody's different from what they were the last time they met you, if they're always real straightforward and calm, and then all of a sudden they come back at you one day, realize that's not them. It wasn't them yesterday.
Right. Right.
There's something's going on.
Thank you, Flo, for bringing that up. Today is National Be Kind Day. Always be kind to a great practice. Absolutely. That's what I mean. I mean, be kind. I mean, even when you're dealing with a customer service person and you're not happy with the service, I come out, and a matter of fact, I had to deal with Spectrum in Florida today because, I when I'm down there, I have my own account and I'm not there and they're charging me and blah, blah, blah. But I told the lady, I said, look, I'm going to apologize beforehand. I'm really upset because I've called you guys on this twice and you guys are still trying to charge me. And, I don't take it out on the person I'm talking to because they're going to help me. But, it allows me to diffuse my mentality, and it makes me say, that they're working. They're not the one specifically who made the mistake, but I'm hoping that you can help me fix it.
One of these. And when
There
you're
you go.
sitting talking to somebody you want to choke.
My grandson went and this is a banana, except it's green. It's coming out purple, but it's one of those stretchy ones. So yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing.
I talk more than once this thing in my hand, and mine's soft enough I can throw it, it'll bounce back too. So
Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things is check yourself how you receive things from others. And if that hits you a certain way, why does it hit yourself? I think that's one thing I tell a lot of people in relationship coaching is that if they're treating you that way, give them back the medicine. If somebody's not calling you back, or you send a message and you're dating them and they're not messaging you back for an hour, when they message you, wait 2 hours to message them back. Give people back what they give you, and then have that conversation. How does that feel? How does that make you feel? Because most people are so used to just getting away with the way they're behaving until you call attention to it and say, is this how you want me to treat you? Because that's how you're making me feel. It's, check yourself or check your neighbor at the door and say, can we fix this? And going forward, your relationship could be a lot better.
You do it a little different than I do. I would just front the problem. Just,
Well,
my next text out would be, if you expect a response, give me one. And then you're done. It's a one and done.
Yeah, that too. But again, I'm just saying, it's when you let something like that in a relationship go for so long, you can't. That's the thing with a lot of relationships. People let all the things that bother them pile up till it's to the point where it just irritates you. So then you got to do something different to get the attention. So
I try not to do that. I think everybody has their own way of doing it. Because if you let it build up, you get angrier and angrier, and the next time it's worse. So to me, it's easier just to open the floodgate, and if somebody drowns, so be it.
Well, you know what? We should probably have a conversation about, let's hash this out and how are we going to handle this? Should be one of our conversations, because that would be a great topic. Anyways, thank you so much as always, Sheryl, for being here. I love you very much. Is there any final words you would like to say?
Mainly, you go get some rest, take care of yourself, and the final words is just think before you open your mouth.
Amen. Amen. And it saves you so many future things, because one thing is, I was a peace officer and I said the Miranda rights so many times is anything you can say will be held against you. So therefore, keep that in mind. Is it worth really having somebody use your own words against you? Not in my book. So remember, it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. So have a good one, guys. And I love you, Sheryl.
I love you too, kid.
You're like a circle that floats around.